Welcome back to the Joystick Show. We're your three favorite friends from Hawaii talking story about comic news, pop culture, and video games. If this is your first time, mahalo for spending that time with us. I'm your co-host Drake. That's Thomas.
What up, what up?
And that's Scott.
How's it?
And we are here tonight to talk to you about some things that we have gathered together and organized. And we're going to start with some topics. But first, let's talk about how everybody's doing. It's been a while since we've been all online together because we were just in person. Scott, go.
Good. Been good. Just got married.
What?
This past week.
Really?
It's pretty awesome.
How was
Yeah,
that?
you guys were there.
Oh, word?
Yeah, that's right, we were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys were.
Yeah.
I
No, it was
know we
beautiful.
try not to talk about cool things, but we'll talk.
That's why we do this podcast.
Yeah.
Just
But
kidding.
yeah, it was awesome. It was great to see. I know you listeners, if you follow every week, you probably already maybe listened to the episode we all got to do together and like in person, which is cool. But I just want to reiterate that was awesome.
That
Hopefully
was
we can do that again
definitely.
soonish.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened, go back to it. It's our Avatar review. That was really cool. So it's just the next episode back before this one. So go check it out.
Yep. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Marriage. It's awesome.
Welcome to the club, buddy.
Ew.
Hashtag hitchsticklers.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think on our side, we both kind of were under the weather, huh, Drake?
Yeah.
We were like, we had so much fun in Hawaii and we were soaking up so much of that good weather that by the time we got back to our cold weather states, it jacked us up. That's my theory. Anyway, I don't know. Do you have a theory, Drake?
I think that our bodies wanted to be in Hawaii so bad that it punished us for going back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must be it. Yeah. Because, I definitely was like, oh, what's going on? All of a sudden I'm sick. So the other way I'm looking at it, too, is like I'd rather be sick at the beginning of the year, knock it out, so the rest of the year I'm good. So, all right,
Very true.
cool. I'm sick for my one time, hopefully this year. Now, moving forward, all good. All 100% health, like life bars completely filled up.
Yep. Just a
All the above.
beast.
Totes
That's
and
right.
goats. Yeah. Kind of like how some people originally got COVID in like 2018 or 2019 early. And then COVID came around allegedly. And then, people got sick and then they didn't really get sick. And then everybody was like, oh, I got sick earlier and I had it earlier, blah, 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 blah. 23 years later.
So trailers. So trailers this week. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We are starting off with trailers, though. Yeah, no, we probably will knock it out. Hopefully we're moving forward in a better way, and we're healthy for the rest of the year. Again, congratulations, Scott. We're stoked for you. But we do have some new trailers this week. And one of the new trailers that came out, I'm kind of curious your guys' thoughts on it because, one, I thought this got the axe, like a bunch of other things from DC, but Gotham Knights on the CW is coming out March 14th, and we got a new trailer for it. What did you guys think about that trailer?
It looks like a CW show.
I concur. I mean, so little information with so little quality. I mean,
Yeah, just it looked like, like 4 teenagers, super good looking, also Bat Family, I guess. Yeah. And then I just don't with the trailer. I just don't buy it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt really like it just felt really CW. It's like at this point I want like a better show, especially after playing the game Gotham Knights, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
That's I agree with you so much there. I'm just wondering why they didn't take more inspiration from the game, which is weird to say because the game got a lot of hate. But also, it's like, how did this get approved? Like, was everything pretty much 90% done? And they're like, yeah, let's just put it out and see what happens. Because and even the characters are so Bat Family adjacent. I mean, there's a Robin in there, but it's like no Robin that we know. At least I think they probably gender swapped the character. which is fine, but like the character design, just her costume doesn't look that great to me. No. And then, then there's Damian Wayne, I guess. He's an orphan now. It just looks like so weird. It's like, what universe was this supposed to exist in? Because it doesn't make sense, I feel like, for anything.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's just move on from it so that we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Not looking great, but I probably will check it out, and we'll talk at least about the premiere episode at some point.
Yeah,
in the show.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. So next trailer, Drake.
Mandalorian season trace. The trailer was kind of fantastic. I thought it gave us quite a lot without revealing too much of the plot. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're getting to see more of the Mandalorians, which is exactly what I wanted. It's like we know Mando, and from the first season, I was like, where are the rest of the Mandalorians? I kept asking myself that, and I think this season is going to answer that. On top of there's more action, there's more of the relationship, the zaddy dynamic between Mando and Grogu, and then we're also getting there's lightsabers in it, so that's cool. Andor already proved that we don't need lightsabers to be amazing, but hey, if you're going to give me lightsabers, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got to see Grogu do some force powers and not pass out, at least yet in the trailer. So
he's got
that's pretty cool. He's getting stronger.
Yeah, or he's taking Excedrin, but
one of those.
One of those things. I was watching I think a YouTube streamer who I can't remember, so I can't give credit, so that's sad for me. But and the streamer, my bad. It was essentially how they could have gone about doing the Mandalorians differently, in the sense that Mandalorian is a creed and not necessarily a people. And when you notice that all of the Mandalorians in general have a very similar body type, we don't necessarily see a lot of the different figures that there are, much like how the Green Lanterns are so different because they're from different worlds, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully, maybe we get to see a little bit more of that in this one. I don't know that it's going to make or break it. I guess it would just be nice to see that homage. But
like you mean like different alien races as Mandalorians?
Yeah, because Mandalorian itself is like the creed.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I was thinking, like Jedi, they have multiple different alien races that are a part of the Jedi, right? And that's in essence like a creed, or you could call it like a warrior religion or whatever. But yeah, it's like, why don't Mandalorians have more different species or races of aliens in their creed? That's kind of interesting. Yeah. I did think about that too, watching the trailer.
Their diversity, their HR department needs to get on it.
Yeah, they're an exclusive club. They're like sheiks or something. Sorry if that's offensive to sheiks. I don't know. I'm pretty unaware.
We don't know much about that.
But I mean, it looks action packed. I'm excited for it. Like I said, I think at the end of December, I always associate the Mandalorian with December and Christmas time, and it was so sad this year not having a Mandalorian to look forward to. So I don't think this one is coming out in December, but now I know we have a new one that we can watch in December, which is also fantastic. So yeah, I don't know. I'm pumped about that.
Yeah, March 1st, right? Comes out.
March 1st, right. So I guess a little after Christmas, but it's not too far away. I'm stoked about it. We'll see how this goes. We know that Kryze Katan, am I saying that right? Why can't I think of her name right now?
Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan. Oh, and she's from the Kryze clan.
Yes,
that's what it is. Yes. Okay, so she needs to get the Darksaber, right? I mean, we know that she wants it back. So there inevitably has to be a battle between her and Mando. So I'm just curious to see how that goes down, and we're finally going to get that answer. I'm pumped about that.
Heck yeah.
It's going to be tight.
Definitely. Next trailer, Antman and the Wasp Quantumania. We got a new one. What'd you guys think about the new one?
Oh man, it's good. It is very good. They we definitely get more dialogue, like between the hero and villain. It's just a lot more. What is it? There's a little bit of Ant-Man, like, oh, I can make a deal with this guy, and then within the same trailer though, like, I almost felt like it showed too much. Did you get kind of that feeling? Like it showed kind of a lot for like this trailer.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Like, I still don't know what Kang wants. I still don't know exactly why they got pulled into the quantum realm. I don't know, what it all really is about. I mean, there's a ton of theories online, right, explaining everything, but I still don't know the exact details, and I do like that. But I get what you're saying. It's like they almost showed too much for me to already be on board. Like, I'm already sold. Why are you showing me more than I need to?
Yeah, like, see, like, yeah, again, like, that's good. Like, I don't know all the details, but it did feel like I was like, okay, that's from Act 1, Act 2, that's from Act 3. Like, I kind of already know when it's taking place in the movie. I may not have all the answers, but I'm like, I kind of wish I didn't know all this. Like, all that, But I guess, that's kind of well known. Like, towards when it gets closer to the movie, they tend to put out one that's like, these are for the people who, like, maybe don't even like the movie. Right. Or this genre, and try and bring them out, and gives a lot more.
Yeah.
But
like, we gotta show them some shit. We gotta show them some action shit.
Really bring them in, right?
Yeah, and that's what they did in this trailer for sure. It was a completely darker tone, and Scott's gonna get messed up. He got beat down in this trailer. Drake, what were your thoughts on it?
No, I thought the same thing. Like, I think. Every time, there's new things in the trailer, but I feel like every time I see Kang kind of give Antman the ultimatum, what is it going to be? Antman. Like, really making him make that choice. I don't know. It always fills me with different, like, variables, different scenarios that he could possibly do. Is he going to sacrifice somebody for his family? Because we don't necessarily see that quite often in the Marvel universe, and Scott is somebody who would do that. Are we going to see more of, essentially what it's going to take to be able to defeat Kang? Like, is he going to have to overcome some of those types of fears in order to, like, do something out of the ordinary? It just makes me really, excited for the possibilities, because and then again, you also have the availability of, like, the multiverse, right? So how can he not know what he could do based off what he already knows? Kang, right? So that's a super interesting idea.
Right, like, I've heard this theory too that maybe there's multiple Kangs in this movie. I'm leaning towards there isn't going to be. I'm leaning towards the one that we see in the trailer with the scars on his face is going to be the primary Kang, and he's going to be the main villain. But I think the multiverse aspect is seeing the different variations of Scott in it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to have multiple Kangs to see that this one is the bad one. We had He Who Remains, and there has to be another Kang that we'll see. I don't know. I just don't feel like if we are going to see another Kang in it, he's going to be nothing like this one or He Who Remains. He might even be more of a good, quote unquote, a good guy, not exactly like a villain that wants to, like, just control everything or take over the world. But yeah, I don't know. The tension is definitely rising, and I think I'm really split between, is Paul Rudd going to be the one that survives, or is it going to be Michael Douglas the one who gets taken out?
I mean, I feel
like, or vice versa.
Is Michelle Pfeiffer going to go? You know what I mean? Like, because she's good. She's not really, I want to say, important to the whole situation, but
Yeah, I mean, she was important for Ant-Man 2, but that was about it. And she has some type of powers, I guess. So, and she also probably has some type of tie into Kang to make her character more important. But I could see Michael Douglas, like, he wasn't really utilized in Infinity War and Endgame. He's a big time actor. Like, why are you going to pay this guy millions of bucks to kind of be, a B character to just support the cast? I definitely think he's probably going for sure. Plus, we have Cassie coming into her own right, and she's probably going to be playing Stinger. I know in the comics, in the original Young Avengers, she plays Stature, but I think they're going to overpass that, as many people have pointed out online, because her suit's purple, and it will just kind of match with the Antman and Wasp theme if she goes to Stinger. So I could see that probably happening too. So why have 3 generations? When you could just take out Michael Douglas, I hate to use this term, but probably, like, cut some budget and then, continue with her. She's probably going to be around for the next 4 or 5 movies.
Do you think the death will be a catalyst, much like how the Agent was in the original Avengers? Do you remember the...
Yeah, Phil Coulson?
Yeah. Because, not to say that they're repeating things, but it is kind of a very similar situation potentially. I don't know. I'm just
slipping,
I'm just making a
Into the future.
Yeah, that's what it feels. I mean, I was agreeing with you, Drake, while singing that song in my head, and also it's like this. What this movie feels like. It's like, is this like past now creating the future, which is then going to create the past, and literally everything's in circles. When you look at the architecture of this under this microverse or whatever we want to call it, it all looks like it's all circular structures, and so there has to be some type of looping time scenario, I think, a part of it. But yeah, I think so. I think that, yeah, I would agree with you, Drake.
Do we think micro penises are more common in the microverse?
They all grow in the microverse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were micro, but now they're not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that
Paul
makes
Rudd's
sense.
got the biggest one as soon as he goes giant man now.
That's true, yeah.
That's a fact. Speaking about big body parts, though, MODOK. We actually got a view of MODOK in this trailer. What did you guys think? Did you guys get to see any of the stills from MODOK?
No, just that little bit in the trailer,
I
actually.
hope it's Patton Oswalt.
That's what I was going to say. It'd be great.
Yeah,
Probably won't
that'd be
be.
great.
It probably won't be.
The internet has petitioned for that, but no, it is Darren Cross from, it looks like, from the first Antman movie, the original Yellow Jacket villain. And if you actually slow-mo down when Scott like transforms him and turns him like tiny, the last thing to shrink is his head, which kind of aligns with the way he looks as MODOK. So I'm like, okay, I kind of buy that. But yeah, no, there's a picture. You guys go look for it. I don't know if we posted it to our Instagram, but there is a still with him following behind Kang and Scott, and it's just Darren Cross's face like almost stretched out over this MODOK body. Ooh. Without like this mask. He has like a gold MODOK mask, but it looks like it's like stretched out and curved, like on a flat surface. Yeah, I mean, if you look it up real quick, it looks dumb, but I wonder if it's supposed to look dumb in that still on purpose. Like, I don't know if the still's doing it justice, if I'm saying it correct.
I think you've shown it to me in Hawaii. Yeah,
it looks kind of silly, but then again, MODOK is a silly looking character, but it's just badass that they're putting him in this movie. So yeah, I'm super on board with MODOK. I'm pumped for that.
Historically, does he have ties to Antman, or?
He has ties. I mean, yeah, like inadvertently. I don't know. His origin, from what I remember, is not tied to Antman's. Like, he has his own version of origin, which has to do more with AIM than I think Antman. But yeah, he's had run-ins with him, I think, for sure.
I wonder if his backstory is gonna come up in the movie to give it a runtime sitch.
Yeah, like more of a tie-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're MCU-izing it, if you will. Like, they kind of like mess with things a little bit just to make it all fit. I think that's kind of where they're making it fit. But I mean, if you're gonna get MODOK from anywhere, I mean, it seems like this movie makes sense.
Yeah, it's just put spit, make it fit. Here we go.
That's right. And Kang. So we also got to look at. It was the most comic accurate I think Kang has looked, which is showing this kind of blue force field around his face rather than, like blue face paint or like a mask like anywhere else, which was really cool. I love that idea because it kind of goes along with all the nanotech and all the face shields that we saw in Endgame and all that stuff. So it like already feels like it's a part of this world. And just, man, he looks like a beast. He is just crushing Antman. I'm worried for him. Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't die, he's going to get his ass beat. He's getting that No Way Home just freaking beat down. So, yeah.
For sure.
No Vaseline.
Wow. Rough stuff.
Yeah, lots of friction. Well, did we want to move on to the new news?
Let's get into some news.
Okay. So, it was heard that Matt Reeves has a meeting with James Gunn and Pete Safran to discuss the future of the Batverse. Did we, I guess, what do you think this means moving forward? And does it give you an erection, or is it flaccid for you?
More Patton. Pattinson.
Yeah, the Vampire Batman, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought when you said, I thought you said Patton. I was like, yeah, Patton Oswalt and everything. Here we go. but yeah, I don't know. I talked about this on Geek Freaks on their episode as well. But I think that I'm curious if this means that the Batverse or like the Batman universe that he created with Robert Pattinson will still continue to be its own Batman universe, or if it's going to be the start of, you know, the main DCU. Like, I don't know if there's plans to incorporate it. I was on the side of, I'm so cool with them keeping it separate.
Me too.
You know, because there's the Joker, and we know that's a separate universe, and then we have the Batman, and we're getting the Penguin out of it. Like, obviously Matt Reeves did an amazing job, but he's created his own universe already. Like, let that guy just run with it as far as, like, I'm concerned. But I do understand some people saying, like, no, you have to go away with everything. James Gunn and Peter Safran are taking over, and they're restarting everything. Like, it all has to be connected. It all has to be in the same universe. It all has to be, you know, just tied together. So I can see both arguments.
I wonder if they're just figuring out continuity or things of the such. Like how you said, like, would it be cool? Yes. Would it be cool to keep it separate? Because, again, I don't see Robert Pattinson. He talked about how much playing Edward Cullen changed his life. I mean, he's going to stick to arguably a more famous character and commit to that character long term, like he did with Edward. I don't know if he wants to do that again. I don't know. That seemed the opposite, but maybe he's changed. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like for it to just be its own thing. I still think DC could do this thing. Like, they do this thing with their comics, like the more like mature rated, like one shot type of stories they want to tell. They're under a DC black label.
Yeah.
And they could totally do that with their movies. Just slap a black label on it, explain that, and be like, these are the solo runs, that they're their own thing. And then this is the joint universe. And that could be a big strength too, I think, as long as you just make it known. Like, that could be really cool.
Yeah, that could be
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we're aware of it. And Frank brought up a good point. He was like, well, I kind of want to hard restart everything connected, because he's like, for the general audience, they may not understand. They're like, okay, wait, which Batman is it? Like, all of a sudden we introduce another Batman on top of just having Batfleck. And now we have Robert Pattinson, and then we have Michael Keaton and all this. It's like, maybe it is better for the general audience who's not always into this stuff to just have a fresh start and be like, this is Batman going forward. This is Superman. This is the Flash. This is Wonder Woman. So I can kind of see that argument as well. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards your way, Scott, where I'm like, no, I would want them to keep this separate, because the realistic aspect of Robert Pattinson's Batman was more in line with Christopher Nolan's Batman. And I like that. Like, it's like, arguably, those are some of the best DC movies ever. Yeah. And I thought the Batman was up there as well. Like, it was so damn good. I want to just keep seeing what that world and that universe looks like. And I don't need all this magic and superpowers and all that stuff necessarily in there. Although if they want to bring in like a Clayface or, you know, a Mr. Freeze or something like that, or a Poison Ivy, I'm all on board with that. But do it in a way that makes sense within that realistic world.
I agree. I would play the opposite, only in the sense that DC did do this previously where they kept everything separate. They tried to bring them together, and it didn't really affect it positively in that sense. So the argument to potentially introducing them in a different way might, you know, help the fatigue. But at the same point in time, like, I mean, these stories are best told singularly, even though we have kind of seen them repetitively told. I would like to see maybe different takes on them. I think James Gunn is the person for that, because he is capable of telling a story on a much deeper level that still has a lot of girth to it, so that you can feel it, right? Yeah, and connectivity. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what comes of that meeting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and again, I agree with you, Drake, on that point. Like, if anybody can do it, I think James Gunn can definitely do it. He can write the story. He can make all of this stuff feel like the same universe if he wanted to. He can make them all feel connected if he wanted to. But yeah, I think that he's going to be... I have nothing but faith in him. I'll just put it that way, until proven wrong. Until that first movie comes out and it's like a Black Adam or something, then I'll change my mind. But as of right now, like, I'm
right. Yeah. And I just hope it's a good meeting, just because, like, it is, like, oh, we still get that Penguin show, and you know, like that's
I think that's
like
still
that,
coming. Like that's guaranteed.
okay, cool. But yeah, and then there's a whole like, is this gonna have to? Is like this Penguin gonna have to connect with? You know, it's cool to still get properties like when we got The Watchmen on HBO. Like, would we have like if anyone wants to do any sort of character, they got to make sure it fits in the grander scheme. Like, sometimes it's interesting to just see like their own stories. We've seen Marvel shows where they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, but it's all got to connect. And like sometimes it feels like because of that, it's like some of these shows aren't that strong. You know, so it could be a hindrance as well. But yeah, we'll see.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I really, based on that point, like I really do hope that they can keep them separate and in their own worlds, and you know, and still make it work, and the audience be able to understand it. Like, I just appreciate the story for what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, each movie has to be a success anyways, so that it can continue on to make another movie. If you can't make the first movie successful by itself, it's not going to go anywhere. You know, like they had a mild start to all of these movies. They need to really hit the ground running, and we'll see if they can do it. I have faith.
Yeah. Well, to not go off topic but stay on topic is like the way that DC's Marvel is doing it is like creating essentially things that you have to watch, right? And so it's almost like when you're having to do, they're like paywalls to an extent, right? Because you have to now watch a show that you wouldn't normally watch to be able to see and fill in all of the blanks that you would see in the larger movies that you would go to watch. And I don't know if that's, you know, hopefully that's not the same model, but I can see why that's interesting to a large production like Disney, i.e. Marvel. But,
totally.
Anywho's so let's,
I mean, I think these are all good points, and I think these are going to be the things that come up in that meeting. It's like, do we want them to all be connected or do we not? And that'll make or break and shift the landscape of these movies going forward. So I'm curious. It's going to be exciting regardless. Again, I think that they're the right guys for the job. Yep. All right. So the other thing was we had a bunch of award ceremonies. We had one Night of Your Wedding, which was the Golden Globes. And then we also, I think last night, had the Critics' Choice Awards. Well, a movie that we talked about last week, Drake, and everybody's talking about, of course, now, which was Everything Everywhere All at Once. It cleaned up. I'm trying to look at the exact numbers, but I think it won 5 awards last night.
Dang.
There's a bunch of other things in there that have been winning that were classics, like Brendan Fraser won an award as well for Best Actor for The Whale, which I'm super looking forward to. The Daniels from Everything Everywhere All at Once, they won Best Directors at the Critics' Choice Awards. And then... let me see, what else? The Dropout won Best Limited Series, blah, blah. My question for you guys is, it was somewhere I had it written down. Well, one, how do you guys feel about Everything Everywhere, based on all the movies that came out last year being, you know, everyone's top movie of the year?
Can you go first?
No, I agree. I agree with it. I mean, I think it was a really great movie. I think it exceeded expectations. I think with what they had, they did a lot, right? And I think the Daniels really, did what the Daniels do. So I don't have any qualms with it cleaning up.
Yeah, me neither. I thought it was really creative, and especially now there's like a big complaint about the only movies that do well, like superhero movies and or like giant blockbuster movies. When I heard about this movie and when I saw the trailer and stuff, like it didn't seem like this movie fit that category necessarily. But the cast, of course, is great, and the story was like unique and fun, kind of like sci-fi-ish, which can either work or it won't. And like this, for whatever reason, like nailed it. Like everything quirky about it was like kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide feel. Like it was, like with the scenes with the lady, the hawk dot fingers and the raccoon, Ratatouille, like all these like weird little callbacks to other universes, basically. Like they're calling to like the Pixar universe, right? So it was really unique and cool. So I can see why it stood out.
Definitely. Yeah, it's just interesting. I wonder if this opens a door for more movies that are outside of our normal genres, like a Banshee of Inisherin or however you want to say it. Like those kind of movies to me seem to make like the best movie of the year kind of movies, right? So it's kind of interesting that this one. All right, looks like we had a little bit of technical difficulty there, but that's okay. Yeah, let's get back into what we were talking about, though, for award shows, because the other thing is, and what I also wanted to say about it was Angela Bassett also wins, which Marvel up until this point has not won anything as far as like major award shows go. So one, I was just like, as a huge Marvel fan, I'm like, fuck yeah, like they deserve the credit. This is sweet. I'm very excited that a Marvel show is actually getting, or movie for this matter, is getting like the acclaim it deserves. I'm stoked about that. And I think Angela Bassett did a fantastic job. I've went on numerous occasions and talked about how much I love her, so stoked about that. Do you guys have any thoughts, comments on that one?
I agree. Happy for her.
Nice.
Same. I mean, yeah.
All right,
great
perfect.
casting.
I think the most important thing that's coming out for me, because I keep hearing how these award shows are not hitting the viewership numbers, like it's hitting the lowest viewership numbers, which is a weird way to say that, but of all time or recently in recent years or whatever it is. My question for you guys is like, do you even care about award shows anymore? Does it mean anything?
My opinion is pretty strong, and I put it really nicely. I don't know that I have any fucks to give about it.
It's fair.
And not to say that these people don't deserve a due. They don't deserve recognition. They don't deserve a prize for all the things that they do. We do know there's a long history in general in the industry that can be perceived as positive and or negative. And aside from all of that, I think there are much more easier ways and obviously much more obvious ways to engage people now, right? Like if you're not doing strictly fan voting, or to an extent fan voting and or doing like literal voting on the topic there and then, and then also having a little bit more fan involvement, a little bit more like social media involvement, I don't think anybody's going to sit down and care too much about it unless it's the Oscars. And even then, it's because we know that there's lots of bias to an extent, right? There's lots of pageantry in the sense of my studio has paid for this in senses. And maybe that's changed because I'm not in the industry. I don't know. But as somebody who doesn't watch it, if you wanted me to get to watch it, these are some things that you would need for me to want to be involved and for you to change the stigma of your shows, of these shows. And getting to see inspirational speeches, I think supersedes some of the feelings that I do have. However, I think those are very rare and in between. And also the content that's being mostly watched isn't necessarily the content that represents me or what I am into. And that also leans itself into the narrowness of the award as a whole. And I'm not saying have an infinite amount of topics, but I think there are better ways, like I said previously, social media involvement, a little bit more like, let's say you're standing in front of a camera and people are texting in questions to the person who's in front of the camera, and the person who's in front of the camera just like looks at them and like answers random questions and moves on, right? So you have that kind of sense of I'm a part of it. It matters to me. And then voting too, right? Fan voting is kind of important because really, if you don't have a viewer, you're not making money.
Yeah.
So those are my opinions, and that's what I would require for fucks to be given.
There you go. Yeah, like more involvement from you. Like you want to be a part of it, is what I'm hearing. It's like make me a part of it as a viewer, and I think that's totally valid. Because I mean, especially if you haven't watched every single one of these things, then like how are you gonna care about a show you've never watched? That seems kind of weird. Yeah, well, Scott, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I'd have to say like lately, and when I say lately, like within like even the past maybe 10 years, like I can't say that I've really tuned into them. I'm either like working or like even if it's on, it's like I don't know, it's kind of like a background thing you throw on, like you're at a family dinner, you're like, oh, let's just put it on. The things that I liked about it when I say I would watch it or whatever would either be like there's a good comedian hosting and I'm like, oh, I want to see them roast people, or
Ricky Gervais.
Sometimes you end up seeing a trailer and you're like, oh, how'd that movie get by me? Like they're like, oh, for best whatever, and they show you a little glimpse of it. I'm like, oh, that was like a fucking good movie.
Right.
I watched that.
Yeah.
So those are the things I liked about it, and I'm like, and then of course you have your favorite actors, and if just so happy you're like, oh wow, like I like that guy. They won. Like, you know, like there's just those little moments, but I can't say like I'm not throwing a party, inviting people over to watch it. I'm not going to parties like watch because I know they have those events and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, even if they took that route, like you were saying, Drake, like the American Idol route, like, you know, vote, like even that's failing now, you know?
Yeah.
They could do it in a sense because it doesn't, that kind of show necessarily doesn't need to make a ton of money, right? Like they've been doing it forever. And back then, like I'm assuming they make more money now doing it than they did before. Like, why can't they just use that same budget? Like any other like theater award thing that they have, like either in your own home state, you know, a lot of them aren't broadcasted, and like the people who care about it are the people who are like in the thing, like they were in that show, so they're going to it. So it's really it's for them anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's all that should matter. If you care about it and you're like you're doing the work and you want it to be noticed and you're nominated and you care about it, then like, you know, then you should be the only one who really cares about it.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's just like, yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Don't really care too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't think I care too much. It's kind of just nice to see who's doing the best at this thing that we all enjoy. You know, I think that's what I do kind of like about it. But I mean, for me, growing up, it was always like, yeah, like you were saying, if it's on or if the host was hilarious and awesome, yeah, I want to tune in. But I didn't need to watch it right there. I was just as fine with seeing who won the next day. Like, oh, okay, this movie won Best Picture. Okay. Like, I wasn't looking for Best Sound Design or Best Costume Design or whatever anyway, you know? So I think it comes down to like Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress. And that was always fine for me. Yeah,
for sure. And I'm all about artists getting recognized. So like, if it is cool. Like again, like it's like Angela Bassett. Like when I do watch a movie and like I see someone's like performance or what have you, I'm like, oh, I hope they do win an award, just because it's probably important to them. So like when they get it, it's like, fuck yeah, dude, like you got it, like good for you. Like I'm more rooting for them in the sense, like I'm not more invested than that probably. Like, I enjoy seeing them win because they probably care.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that. Another show that did get an award, I think, for the Golden Globes was The Bear. And I don't know if you got to finish it, Drake, but I think you enjoyed it, Scott. And I really, really did. It was like one of my top shows of the year, I believe. And man, that guy is such a great actor. And it was so emotional and intense. And it just shows the stress and the difficulty of maintaining a restaurant in anywhere, but you know, having different relationships and personalities and all this stuff in a kitchen. But yeah, The Bear is now coming back for a season 2 early this summer. It's saying, I want to say, so hopefully look out for it this summer, and we're getting 10 episodes of The Bear season 2. Yeah.
Oh, one more thing about awards, and with The Bear, like I do like saying like you're trying to get your friend to watch a show. And like, yeah, I'll get to it. And you're like, dude, it won awards. Like, fucking check it out.
Yes.
Like, you're going to like it. So there's like weight that gets carried behind that. Like, it won awards. Like, okay, I'll check it out. And then they end up liking it. So like, I do like that aspect. And then if they do win awards, you're like, there's going to be another season.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Always nice.
Like, I mean, I felt good for a year when I was telling everybody to watch Coda. And then Coda won Best Picture, and I was like, see? Coda's amazing. Should have listened to me. And I said the same thing to Christina, like, Everything Everywhere All at Once. This movie's fantastic. You should watch it. She's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm like, let's watch it. And then, of course, that wins Best Picture. So I'm just saying 2 for 2. So you better listen to your boy over here. No, I'm just kidding. Tooting my own horn. I got lucky, I think. But anyways, we're going to wrap up this episode with just 3 reviews. Scotch. Oh my God. This is like what we were doing the night of your wedding. We were calling it Scotch Shots for Scott, right?
Yeah, Scotch Shots for Scott.
Yeah, something like that. Super tongue twister. I almost did it right there. But you watched a few things recently. Let's wrap it up with Puss in Boots, the Banshee of Inisherin, and the Fablemans.
Okay, cool. Let me pull that up real quick. I wrote down quick things about him.
Oh.
I also watched in the Pale Blue Eye.
And the Pale Blue Eye.
Netflix,
Sorry.
and
Yeah,
I'll wrap
that
these
off.
up quickly. No, it's fine.
Bale.
All these are super heavy, by the way. I don't know how you
Except Puss in Boots.
stayed. I mean, even Puss in Boots, man.
Still super emotional.
I know. Antonio Banderas.
You know what? Actually,
might make me
that
cry.
was pretty emotional.
It might make me llores.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. So the Pale Blue Eye, set in 1830. It stars Christian Bale. He plays Augustus Landor, who's a detective. And it also stars Harry Melling, and he plays Edgar Allan Poe. He was the cousin in Harry Potter, and he was also in the Queen's Gambit.
Oh.
He does a really good job in this movie. I gotta say.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you only know from Harry Potter, go watch this. He did an awesome job. I really liked it.
I think he was in
the story.
He was in Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, I think, too.
Oh,
okay, yeah, he's good. He's in a lot of stuff. And he's lost a lot of weight, so he looks different than in Harry Potter now.
good. Because I hated him when he was fat. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Well, because he's healthier now, right?
Yeah, that's exactly why.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So this movie is a slow burn. It's a mystery. It's a drama. It follows Christian Bale, and of course Christian Bale. He's so good. If you haven't seen him in a while, and you want to check him out again, he's
I want
awesome.
to check him out all the time.
I know, especially in that bat suit. So he's a detective. He's going to go investigate this murder, and then it ends up turning into a bigger thing, and it's turning into almost like a series of murders, and he has to stay there longer. And he meets this kid who's Edgar Allan Poe, who's a poet, and he ends up kind of helping him. He's his inside man to the school, and Edgar's a brilliant dude too. So they're trying to solve this mystery together, and then there's some twists in it and stuff. So if you like a good drama mystery, check it out.
Cool.
And it's old timey, 1830. Good stuff.
So,
all right. Nice.
Yeah, and then let's jump to Puss in Boots.
Okay.
So
Nice way to break up the solidness here.
Let's go happy, and then we'll go sad again. Okay.
All right. Perfect.
So this movie actually surprisingly really good. I've been seeing pictures of it getting high reviews in Avatar, and I'm okay, I gotta check it out.
Right. Was it getting Paddington 2 reviews? Because Paddington 2, greatest movie of all time.
I haven't watched that movie, but apparently that's supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right now I'm in that I refuse to watch it, but maybe one day I'll watch it.
I mean, the unbearable weight of massive talent makes it seem like it was Schindler's List or something. They're like, it's so good. He's like, it is so good.
Paddington 2. Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out sometime. But this movie is basically, if you know Puss in Boots, he's from the Shrek, Shrek stories. He's the little cat, Antonio Banderas. He's a cat.
Antonio Banderas.
Banderas, and he is basically Zorro, but in cat form. And in this movie, it focuses around they kind of show his legendary status and all the adventures he's go on and his wild solo ways, and he comes to realize that he's burned through 8 of his 9 lives, and he has 1 life left, and he comes across this this legend of a wishing star, and you can go there and make a wish for anything you want. There's only 1 wish though. So he's like, I gotta get my 9 lives back, and of course he could. I don't know why he doesn't aim for more.
Yeah,
but
that's
he
a
wants
good
the 9
plot
back.
though. That's a really good.
No, it's a good plot. So he ends up running into this other cat, which I think they show. He had his own movie before this. I didn't really watch it. But
Garfield?
She's played by no, it was another Puss in Boots.
Oh, okay.
But played by Salma Hayek, called Kitty Pauls, and then they also have this other character that joins in, this little Chihuahua, played by Harvey
Dent.
Weinstein.
No, Harvey Guillermo. Is that his real last name?
Yeah, Harvey. I don't know.
The guy who plays Guillermo? He plays Guillermo in
the guy who played What We Do in the Shadow? His name is Guillermo in real life? Wait, Guillermo?
I gotta make sure.
Guillermo's last name is Guillermo? That's amazing.
Yeah,
I don't know if I wrote that to be like he plays Guillermo. Sorry.
Your notes to yourself is like Guillermo.
Okay, no. Okay. You know what? It auto-corrected to Guillermo. It's Harvey Guillen.
Guillen.
Sorry, I'm butchering
But
that.
he does play Guillermo?
He plays Guillermo in What We Do in the Shadows, and then he plays Pedro.
It's his fault that his last name's the same as characters, all right? Or very close to his characters.
It's his fault.
It's his fault, all right? So we can't blame you.
You put that in my head. I've known him as Guillermo longer, okay?
That's true.
But he plays this character, Pedro, and he's this little chihuahua. And, like, the movie is just, like, it's way more, like, heartwarming than I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. Like, so they're after the wish. They all have their own reasons, but the dog is just there for the ride. Like the dog is like has the saddest story, and he thinks it's hilarious. He's like, "Oh, I got this hilarious backstory." It's basically like the stories about like how his first owner's trying to kill him, and he's like, "It's so funny." They put me in a sock and they put a rock in it, and they threw me in the river. And they're like, "That's like sad," and he's like, "Joke's on them. I grew into that sock, and now it's a sweater." And like that's what he wears. You're like, oh damn. And then Goldilocks and the Three Bears is in it too, and like they have their own drive. And then John Mulaney's in it. He plays what the fuck is his name? Jack Horner, who like I'm not too familiar with that fairy tale. Yeah, he puts his but now he's like giant and like muscular, but he still has his baby head, and it's John Mulaney's voice, and he has like. He's just been collecting all the magic items, and he has this Mary Poppins bag, which they hint to. They don't call it Mary Poppins bag, but he calls it like the babysitter's bag. Okay. It's like, it's endless, and like he just has all these magic items. So the stuff they touch on and everything is like, all the fairy tale magic stuff is really cool and hilarious. And what's really cool, though, is the art in this. They do like Into the Spider-Verse stuff where the art is one way, but once the action starts, like the frame rate drops. Oh, okay. So like it's kind of more jittery, but like the art kind of changes as well. Right. And the villain in this is like this badass like wolf character with like two like mini sights, and he's like he introduces himself as like a bounty hunter. Like he just shows his thing, like this wanted poster for Puss in Boots, and it says dead or alive, and he's pointing at dead. Yeah. Like, I'm basically here to kill you. And like he's a dude who instills fear in him. Like Puss in Boots, he's like, I've never been cut by a blade, and then he gets cut, and he's like, oh, and he runs, and he's like, I'll find you. Yeah. So like throughout the movie, you hear this dog whistling, and you just see like Puss in. And I'm like, is he supposed to be hit a bunch of cool? Like, is he supposed to be like Dog the Bounty Hunter? No. Well, no. Like, so what's cool is like towards the end of the movie, there's like a twist in his character, which I could just tell you if you wanted, but it's like spoiler free right now. Yeah, you kind of sold me on it. Yeah, so by the end of the movie, you're like, holy crap! They like wrapped all these different storylines together, like really nicely for like kids. And what's really cool is they still stuck to that Shrek format where there's jokes in there for adults and for kids. Okay. Like there's literally moments where the dog is like, oh, I've had a lot of names. I've had like beep beep and like beep and beep and like he's like swearing clearly, right. But he's like so oblivious to like these swear words. Yeah. And then kids won't know, right? But yeah, so I really recommend it. It's like, yeah, it's heartwarming, it's family film, and like it was like funnier and like better than I thought it was gonna be. Right. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not kidding. I feel like you sold me on it. I want to watch it when it comes on, whatever it is, Paramount or Peacock or whatever it comes on. Like, I'll check it out because it actually sounds kind of funny and it's an interesting plot. So I'm on board. Yep, definitely check it out. Okay, so bump us out again. Yeah, here we go. Banshees of Inisherin. So this movie. Okay, I'm butchering all these names. You just gotta work with it. Okay? What language do you know how to speak? Barely English. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. So this movie is like it's like a dark comedy, and like towards the end, it just starts getting more and more sad. Just because like I was watching with Christine, and there's moments where Christine's like, oh, like I heard her say that as soon as your lady or partner starts going, oh, it just makes everything 1,000 times worse. You're like, I didn't feel that bad about it, but now that you made that sound, it's like I should feel worse, and now I do feel worse. Like, oh, that's exactly. It's like, oh, it's sadder now. But this movie's set in 1923 on an island off the west coast of Ireland, towards the end of their Civil War, and like it basically follows Colin Farrell, who plays Patrick, and Brendan Gleeson, who was Mad Eye Moody in Harry Potter. Yep. He plays Colm. So the movie literally starts with and it's in the show notes, so you know what it's about. It's like about these two friends that fall out of friendship. It starts with it where Colin Farrell's going to the house of his best friend, and he's knocking on the window. He's like, hey, you want to go to the bar? 2:00? And he's like ignoring him, and he's like, that's weird. Right. And he goes to the bar, and then Calm comes up, and then like he's just like, go sit somewhere else, and he's like, what the fuck? And you're right there with Colin Farrell, like, okay, like what's going on?
What happened?
And then there's like, and then it slowly starts building. The part of the mystery is like, why is he so mad? He's like, oh, did I get drunk? Did I say something? Like, if I did, I'm sorry. He's like, no, you didn't. He's like, okay.
But he
like,
just doesn't tell him. No.
And what you get out of it is like, I'll tell you this part. He's older than Colin Farrell is.
Right.
And he's a musician and he plays the fiddle. And I guess he's at this point in his life where he's like, every day I drink with you from 2 o'clock till like the evening, and like I'm not getting anything done like with my life. So
interesting.
He's like, I want to like be remembered past my life. No one's gonna remember you, but I want to pass songs on or something. And Colin Farrell's like, basically, like, you could do that still. And he's like, nah, you're a distraction, like kind of thing. But it gets like way more like drastic as the movie goes on. Like there's like, if you talk to me, I'm gonna do this. And like, it just gets crazy. And then towards the end of the movie, you're just like, it does get depressing, but it's also funny throughout. Like the dialogue they have together and like the dialogue in this small town is like, they're just like, the scene shouldn't be funny, but it just is funny. Right. And there's a character, you know, the guy who played Druid in Eternal?
Yeah, Barry Keoghan.
He's awesome in this movie.
Oh, I bet.
So he plays a side character who's like basically the dumbest guy in town who like helps with the animals, and like his physical movement and scenes and stuff are just like so interesting. Like he's like, oh, what are you doing? And he's just like kind of like twitching, or he's like stretching of some sort, or like, and like the things he says in it, and like he's like just genuine about it. You're like, this guy's fucking funny. Like, and he's not supposed to be, you know, like, he's just dumb.
What he's doing, it shouldn't be funny, but it is just because he's moving really weirdly and articulating really weird, and based on how you were just doing it, that's what I'm basing it off of.
Yeah, exactly. And then throughout the film, like, of course, there's moments where you're feeling for Colin Farrell, like, dude, what the fuck? This guy's supposed to be his best friend. You're like, you kind of got that in your head. But there's also moments where you're laughing throughout the feeling sorry for him. So the movie is like, it's really good. Like, I know it's kind of sad, but I was thinking, like, I don't see a lot of these movies anymore, you know, like these like really good dramas. So if you're looking for a good dark comedy drama, I definitely recommend it. It's on HBO right now.
Okay, right on.
HBO Max.
Nice. And I think that
great actors.
Yeah, I mean, I think you did a great job describing, because it didn't look interesting to me at all from the trailer. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It looked interesting, but it's like, do I really want to spend an hour and a half watching that when we have, you know, all these other things that I know are going to be entertaining and stuff? But I think you've also steered me in a direction now where you've made it enticing, and now I actually want to go back and actually watch it. So yeah, I'll give that a shot, man. It sounds pretty good.
Sweet, yeah, I hope you like it.
Yeah.
So last movie.
No. I was gonna say, whenever somebody says dark comedy, I kind of always think about it as like Death to Smoochie, if you remember that.
Right.
With Robin
I
Williams.
do remember that, and that was dark. Yeah, so it's just dark in the sense of like, I guess the overall tone. It's like kind of a sad story, but like I was saying, like the dialogue and the way everyone functions in the town, even the way they repeat stuff. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go down to the thing. You're like, oh, you're going to the thing? Yeah, I'm going down to the thing. And they're like repeating the same thing maybe like 5 times over. And you're like, this is like what they talk about here.
Right.
Like, and then they go in like, oh, hey. And he's like, hey, what, pint? And he's like, yeah, pint. And then it's like the same pint. He comes in every day, he gets the same pint.
Yeah.
And then he'll come in, he's like, hey, pint. And he's like, nah. And he's like, oh, what's wrong? Like, and it's just like this, like, you're just wondering, like, what's there every day? Like, they're so interesting.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, why is he mad? And he's like, I don't know. Did I do something? He's like, I don't know. You guys are best friends. He's like, that's what I'm saying. He's like, go talk to him. He's like, I think I will.
It sounds like one long Seinfeld episode.
It kind of is. Yeah. And then it gets to the point where like even everyone else still don't know why he's mad at him, but they're telling Colin Farrell like, enough already. Like,
just let it go
for some reason. Like, just let it go. And he's like, I won't. Like, it's just like, because they live on a little island. He's like, you're my best friend.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, So it's really interesting, and it's kind of sad because you're like, this is like, you guys are. You assume they've been best friends forever too.
Right.
Just by like how much he wants to still be this guy's friend.
Right, and how it starts off probably too. It sounds like they established the characters right away. You're like, okay, these guys do this every day. They're best friends. Like, they have the time of their life. This is what they do every single day. And then one day, they don't. and this is what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
And you're like, okay, I gotta know how this ends.
Yeah.
Like you're sucked in it.
Wow.
So I definitely recommend that movie.
Right on. Right on. Yeah.
And then
and the last movie.
the last one is The Fablemans. So this one is directed by Steven Spielberg and written by Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner. It's loosely based on Spielberg's childhood, and it's like a drama coming of age story. But it is like post World War II. He's growing up in Arizona, and then he's like, at one point he's like moving to California. There's like he's going through like that anti-Semitism, like he's running to people like because they find out he's Jewish.
Oh. Okay.
You know, which was interesting, and like the whole interesting aspect of like how he came into film. Like it starts with him like going to the movies, like his first movie, and it's like a Western.
Okay.
And there's a scene where this train crashes into this car on the tracks, and like you can tell because the old movie like it was practically shot, so it was like a toy train and all that stuff. But
yeah,
he's like, what the fuck, like because they're explaining like it's gonna be this big picture. They're explaining like it's basically photos, and you if they're put in front of your face fast enough, it looks like it's moving, and that's why they call it moving pictures.
Right.
They're explaining all this aspect to him. And then like he sees it, and he's getting nightmares from this train scene. And he's like, I know what I want for Hanukkah. I want a train set. Oh. So they give him a train set. And then he like, you know, the dad and him like build it. And so his dad is played by Paul Dano.
Oh,
who,
wow.
Who he does a great job.
The
And like
Riddler.
he's basically like a And in this movie, he's like basically like a tech genius. Like he's moving up in this. He's like literally developing new things for like. At one point, they were talking about like developing the 64-bit processor or whatever.
Okay, like IBM or
yeah, like all IBM stuff,
like
and like
that,
his other partner, who's Seth Rogen, his friend, who's like not as smart as him, but he's always been there with him.
Okay.
He's like challenging. They're just like you can just tell they're like that's what they're into.
Right.
And his mom is a pianist, like a really good pianist who gave up on playing.
Grow up, Drake.
Sorry.
Grow up, bro. That's what they still call it, okay? It's not my fault. And she's one of those, she could have been like a really famous one, but she like had kids and like gave up that dream.
Yeah, life took her down a different path to motherhood.
Right. And throughout the movie they show that sort of thing, like all of their dynamics. But he eventually starts recreating that train crash. The dad's like, dude, I buy you this train to not do that. Like, don't break your toys. And then the dad was into like filming and stuff, so the mom's like, here, how about you take this camera, film it once so you can watch the crash over and over, because I think what you need to do is get over this trauma that you are feeling. You're getting all this anxiety. So he's like, okay. She leaves him alone, and what he does is he like films it over and over again in different angles. And then he like learned how to cut film and stuff, and he puts this movie together and shows his mom, and she's like what? Like, this is amazing. And he's like, I had to crash from a bunch, but this is what came out of it. And he's like, there's still work though. Like, don't worry. And she's like, you got to keep doing this. So like throughout the movie, he's like learning how to like make films and all that stuff. And yeah, it's really good. Like, the guy who plays like, they don't say like it's Spielberg. They use a different name. They say Sammy Fableman. But the kid who plays that Sammy at like that high school age, like I haven't really seen him and stuff, but he does a really good job. Like, I'm definitely thinking we're gonna see him a lot more in other films coming up. He did a really good job.
That makes sense.
And Seth Rogen did a really good job too in a more serious role.
And Seth Rogen, like, has been impressing me. I feel like he has a wider range than people give him credit for. You know, because you always see him. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Drake?
Oh no, I was gonna say that whole group kind of does now, like that whole The Last of Us group.
Yeah,
not The Last of Us, but the what is that? What's that one?
Oh yeah, the one at the end of the world.
This is the end.
Yeah, this is the end.
Yeah.
Like, that whole group has gone kind of more drama, and they've all done super well. So
true, and also stick around for the next episode because we will be covering The Last of Us. Yeah. Going back to the Fablemans, that's interesting because I had heard, little tidbits from other podcasts about the Fablemans and how it was about Steven Spielberg, but the way you described it sounds really just, you can kind of see how this light bulb moment kind of goes off in his head and why he is who he is and what he did, because, right, I mean, he got this camera at such a young age and then was like, I wonder what it would look like from this angle. I wonder what it would look like from here. How do I put it all together? And he instinctually had that talent mixed with the interest. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like
I'm watching this movie and I'm like, man, like I'm in the music now, but like as a kid, I wasn't thinking about things the way he's thinking about shots at such a young age.
Right.
Like they did a road trip to like their new house, and before they could pull in the driveway, he's like, "Wait, stop the car!" And he runs out and he's like, "Okay, I want to film you guys like coming into the driveway."
wow.
And they're like, "I gotta pee," and he's like, "I gotta get a shot." Like you know, and he's like, man, it's like at such a young age, I could imagine him like just thinking different. You know, like and it's super interesting.
I know he was probably always looking at things cinematically and from different angles. And like now, when you look at when you have a ground level shot and you're watching like tires roll into a driveway, it's such a, like an interesting thing. But you might see it a lot more in movies now. But the first person who ever did that had to have been like, people were like, what the hell? Like, I would have never thought about that shot. Or I was talking to somebody about like Studio Ghibli shots, where you're just watching kids sit on a train and they're going by. You could see like the lights behind them and trees and all this, verbiage or
it's like all
vegetation.
the little things and stuff.
Yeah. But being able to see that as art was pretty unique. And if anybody has been able to do that and then translate it onto a big screen, it's Steven Spielberg. So
right. And there was a cool part of this movie where he's doing this like war film, and he's trying to convince one of these guys like, I need more from you, and like this is the director aspect now, right? Like you're getting to see, and he's like, what do you mean? And like he's like guy that looks like way bigger than him, probably like, I'm a jock, I don't do this sort of thing, and he's like, you gotta like imagine like all these men, they're dead now, and like it was your fault. And he's like, well, he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, you made the call, and now they're dead. And like he's explained to him, and he's like, the guy's kind of like sobbing up and stuff. He's like, and then he's like sobbing, telling him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, like they're like, you ready? And he's like, yeah, I'm ready. And then like they get this amazing shot, and I'm like, well, even at a young, like I'm assuming this is like probably one of those core memories he has, like as a kid, like already having that good director skills of like getting feelings out of people that maybe don't
pulling the emotion
sort of
out of them.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
That's so wow, damn.
Wow, that's interesting to kind of like, because that's his own take on kind of his, that's his like Shia LaBeouf Honey, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I guess
where
so.
It's almost biography-esque in a way.
I'm kind of almost my mind automatically went to like my interest was like, what if like a huge fan of Steven Spielberg's or somebody who was touted as like, like a prodigy of Steven Spielberg's wrote how that affected how they viewed Steven Spielberg in that way, if that makes sense. Because you would assume that Steven didn't like elaborate. Maybe he a little bit of glitz and glam, but obviously he's a great director. So is he overplaying himself? So I don't know, that's super interesting.
Like the only comparison I could think of, it would be like a famous writer writing a book about their life, right? And so like they're using the medium that they're super skilled in to then translate how they viewed their life, right? And then and it's interesting because you're right. I do agree. Like if they had somebody who was like a protege of Steven Spielberg, and then you translate it to somebody who was a super fan but knows every little tidbit about him, and how would all of those movies, if you watch them back to back to back to back, whatever variations of these different characters, how different would these movies be, and in what ways would they be similar? I think that's where my mind's going. It would be super interesting to see that, and I don't know if we'll ever get to, but it is cool to see in this life that somebody as great as Steven Spielberg, he was able to put down what made him who he is now. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool.
And even if he's like making up that scene or embellishing it or whatever, like
still awesome.
Just the meta of like, okay, I'm gonna direct you two actors. You were young me, and you were the dude I was talking to in the scene. So you're me, right? And you're convincing this guy that he's got to feel emotions. And then, like he still made that scene real. Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm like, even that, I'm like, he's directing a scene about directing a scene, and it made it seem like he wasn't doing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, he's still a great director. And there's another part in the movie that was like a line where like he's talking to this one guy, and he's like, don't put that, or he's like, you're not going to tell anyone about this, right? And he's like, no, I won't tell anyone. He's like, unless I put it in a movie. And he's like, but I won't. And I was like, that's hilarious because he fucking did. He made this movie. He put it in. Like,
right. I know. Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Like, yeah.
But since it's like semi-fictionalized, you can play it off even. I mean, he still kind of has an alibi. It's like, that didn't really happen. Or did it?
Exactly.
Or did it? Like, but did it? You know, like he can keep kind of playing this alibi to it too. Man, what an amazing.
No one knows but
life.
him and that dude, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so crazy. Well, damn, you watched a lot of really, really good, kind of thought-provoking things, like deeply emotionally seated things that probably made you think a lot, especially, you know, you go from a wedding, which is highly emotional, and seeing all these people and there for you, and then to, like, you know, have to deal with things that were going on at home, and then all these movies. Wow, I don't know. Do you feel drained, I guess is what I'm wondering?
No, you know, not really. Like, I actually want to watch more of these types of movies. Like, there's a bunch of movies that keep flying by because, like, work, and then of course I like all the superhero stuff, and we all know there's enough of that to go around. So sometimes I like put some of these movies on the back burner.
Totally.
And like, I was glad I had some time to like get through these, and I love a good drama. Like, there's some other movies I definitely still want to check out. Like, Blue Bayou has been on my list forever.
Really good.
And like, and I still want to watch that. You know, like, so.
Damon? No. It has this Asian actor in it, and it's about this Korean kid who grows up in Louisiana. Yeah, but anyways, that I hear you.
That's another thing. But
that's a podcast for another time. But I that's cool, man. It's awesome, and also it makes me thankful that you're a part of this team and you're able to watch stuff like that and be able to describe it in such like a very descriptive and understandable way for us. So fuck, you sold me on like at least 4 different movies now. So I got a lot of shit to do between everything else we try to watch for the podcast every week. But yeah, I think it's well worth the sleepless nights to watch some of this because it sounds super good. Yeah, Drake, what about you? Anything else you pulled out of that?
No, just more content for me to consume. Just because, I don't know, Scott, were you a salesman in a previous lifetime?
I should look into that, huh?
Yeah. Get out your Ouija board.
There you go.
If pitching movies like that I've seen, just like if that was a job, like, hey, watch this movie I like,
and then pitch
like,
it.
I would do that.
I mean,
it
kind of is a job. I mean, we're doing it. We just don't get paid for it.
That's right. So just living the dream.
Right? Yeah, we're living the dream with no money. But all right, guys. Well, I think that's it for this episode. We're gonna be back with The Last of Us because we want to get on that as well. We're going to be watching that every single week and giving you weekly recaps on it. But among other things, back with our anime, back with new shows coming out in 2023. But stick around, and thanks so much for being there. And if you can, share this episode with one other person this week. We truly would appreciate it. Of course, we just said we don't get paid for it, so we'd like to maybe one day. But if not, it goes back into the show, and we'll be able to produce more, give back to you guys in other crazy ways that we have planned this year. And we just appreciate it. And as always, thanks for sticking it with us.
Shoot.
If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, we'd really appreciate a follow, subscribe, and a review. Just how we like chatting with our friends, please share this with yours. Feel free to join the squad and follow us at JoyStickShow Joystick Show on Twitter and Instagram, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like submitting topics or questions to be discussed on future episodes, you can email us at joystick.show@gmail.com. As always, thank you, peace out, and make it a great rest of your week.